but I've worked on hundreds of businesses, nearly spent $100 million in ads. Like I do this day in and day out. On average, most clients get a 23-to-1 return. I genuinely believe everyone is 4 to 7 good relationships away from building a very successful 7-figure business.
Hello and welcome. This is the Lucky Boy podcast. My name is Karleigh. I'm the director of Lucky Boy Agency, and today we have an exciting guest with us who will share invaluable insights on mastering digital marketing and scaling a business. Our guest today is Michael Nadalin, founder of Market Lead, a company that delivers tangible revenue-based outcomes for both B2C and B2B businesses through advanced Google Ads, PPC and SEM strategies. Managing over $1.6 million per month in Google Ads and over $200,000 per month in Meta Ads, Michael brings over a decade of experience and is known for generously sharing his marketing secrets. So let's jump into our conversation with Michael from Market Lead. Hello and welcome.
Thank you for having me. Those are such wonderful words, or things that I've forgotten that are the truth about my business.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're in your business so much every day, you forget like, oh, I'm managing a lot of money or I'm doing all these things. Similar to you, I look at your website and how many clients you work with. I'm like, geez,
that's some amazing work. Impressive.
I know. Yeah. And then you forget it. And then someone tells you, you're like, damn, who is this person? And then you realize it's me.
Yeah. It's so funny hearing someone read your bio. Took a lot of that from your LinkedIn page.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I've got my LinkedIn page set on private now so that I could view people's pages without them seeing that I'm on it.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can do that.
I've totally
lifesaver.
Given up on the idea of thinking that I can do all this stuff privately. I'm like, if people see that I'm looking at their account,
it's fine.
I trust it. Just maybe not on Instagram. That's probably where it gets a bit weird.
So I wanted to start and ask you to tell us a little bit about your journey in the digital marketing world and what inspired you to start Market Lead.
Yeah, wow. I was actually on a podcast yesterday and I had the same question. And sometimes it's strange doing a bit of back to the future on myself, realizing I've been running my company for 3 years now and it feels like it's been longer and I actually think it's been shorter, but it's this weird thing. So what got me into digital marketing was a really simple story, very linear. Went to uni, did a marketing degree, got a job, and I was just so fortunate that I was put into a Google Ads role. Now, I was supposed to be put into a copywriting role where if anyone ever saw some of my writing, they would think that I'm from another country and English is my second language. So I was very fortunate to go into Google Ads because it was a blend of psychology, strategy, and data, which is when I look at now, like they're my strengths. So I worked at agencies for about 7 years, always getting to a senior position or always working on the best clients, top clients. And then it just got to the point during COVID where there was a big shift that I was working at home because everyone had to work at home. And I had mates who were running agencies, but they needed someone to help them with their advertising because they were getting the clients, but they couldn't service them because there was such this big flux in the market of new businesses. So I was just helping some mates freelance. And then there came a point where I actually was just looking at my finance. I'm like, I'm making way more from doing a few hours of work outside of work hours doing this freelancing than I was in my full-time job. And I was on a pretty handsome 6-figure salary. And then just one day I realized it's time to get the journey going. Yeah. So a lot of people, when they start their businesses, they start from zero. And I'm not that risk taker. I was already earning quite a bit before I could leave. So it was just a really good position I could put myself into so then I could leverage and jump off. And then that's where it started. I'm
the exact same. I am way too conservative. When people talk about their journey and talk about going from zero, quitting their job, and then, okay, now I'm going to start and get business and start my business, I just think, oh, no. I already had enough clients to pay for my wage before I left my corporate job because I'm way too conservative.
I'm exactly the same.
I could never just, okay, hope it works.
Yeah. But that's probably why you're a really good CEO because you actually understand that you have financial responsibilities. And if you're treating your personal finances that way, how are you going to treat the business when it happens? And unfortunately, a lot of people do that and they don't succeed. You only hear about those 1%ers who do break through and they're like those global names. But when you just think about everyday people, most people don't make it. Unfortunately, I'm not here to put bad news out there, but you got to look at how things are, not how you want them to be. So quick recommendation to anyone is if you want to start your own business, start doing it on the side whilst you're working.
Totally.
That way you don't have that financial stress of, worrying about your next paycheck, taking on bad clients, taking on bad work. Like you've always got to start off doing the average work, but don't start off doing the shit work.
Absolutely.
It makes a big difference.
When we started Lucky Boy, I was officially working full-time for the agency, pretty much it would come around every single Tuesday. I would say for the first, couple of months, I would always have breakdowns on Tuesdays. I don't know what it was. Like I was like getting through Monday, okay. And then by Tuesday, I was just like, oh my God. Every single week for that first couple of months, I was having a breakdown until I can kind of, navigate the space a little bit better, understand, the highs and lows and all of those different things from going and working for someone else to actually working for myself. Did you find when you left working, even though you were already doing it on the side, when you were fully working for yourself, were there any challenges?
I definitely can't write a motivational book because my challenges are very different from most people, what they deal with. The challenges I faced were, it was easy for me to leave a job because I'm not fit for a workplace. I've got a crazy energy. I think the way I operate and think, most people can't deal with it. Like if I was like employee to employee, but as like a business owner to business owner, it's very easy because I'm fast paced, big ideas, want results fast. But the only challenges I was having early on was just that I just had that ambition to grow and I realized I just needed to be more patient. So, when you're in a job, you can do very specific things to get a pay rise or grow. But when you've got your own business, you've got to do everything. It's not just like, I'll just do better work for the client and get paid more. It's like you've got to do your own accounting, your marketing, relationship building. And it's not, I think to answer the question, it's having to go from doing one thing to having to do everything and having to do everything really well because business is very unforgiving, especially early on.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking now more about Google Ads, because I know that you are you're an expert in the space and I've already learned so much from you and even just the content that you put out for free on your LinkedIn, which is nice to see, content on LinkedIn is other than I'm excited to share, just some like actual good, useful information on LinkedIn. But I wanted to ask you, speaking specifically about Google Ads, what do you think the biggest mistake that businesses make with Google Ads and how can they avoid it? Yeah,
wonderful. So I forget I do Google Ads because I've done it for so long. It's like breathing to me. So I work with a lot of really great clients, being at big businesses or just like everyday businesses who are going really well. The biggest mistakes most businesses make with Google Ads is they haven't set up their business to facilitate the success of Google Ads. So Google Ads, for example, the truth is Google Ads is just getting traffic to a page. That's it. It's nothing more or less than that. The challenge is most people send them to very average pages and just think, if I get the best AdWords or Google Ads specialist, then it'll fix everything. And it's like, well, it needs to go to a good landing page or a good web page that actually converts because the goal is to get a lead or a sale, not to just get more traffic. Then the biggest challenge from that is when they do get leads or sales, they can't fulfill it properly. So even though when I started, it was just Google Ads, I did a post the other day sharing that I realized that you can't just be a single channel person anymore. You've got to understand business. So with most businesses, the biggest challenge is they actually don't understand the effect it will have. If it goes really well, they may not be able to keep up with the success of the leads, the quality of the leads, fulfilling the sales. I was having a chat with a mate here on the way and we've got a new big property development client down in Geelong and they've got 140 apartments. Now I know this advertising campaign is going to pop off and I'm like, do they have the sales infrastructure set? It's like, yeah, they've got a really good sales dude. I'm like, it doesn't matter how good this salesperson is. They're going to burn these leads really fast because there's going to be so many that they're not going to respect the leads well enough. So it's more about the things I see is most people don't know how to actually keep up with the success of Google Ads.
And so once people get the lead in, they obviously need to nurture it and then convert from there. Yeah.
People think that if they get a lead, it means they've got a sale. It doesn't. They just think because they're so used to referral leads that when they get a referral lead, it's pretty much 80% chance they're going to get it. Google Ads, it's warm traffic, not hot traffic. People are proactively looking. They're looking to take action, but they're not ready to specifically buy right now. You've still got to sell to them. And so many people in traditional businesses are so used to referrals and people coming to them when they need them that when they're getting into like traffic off the internet, they're just not ready for someone to actually go, I need a bit more time, or let me think about it, or give me some more information.
Mm-hmm. So being a Google Ads strategist, I guess it's more than just setting up the ad campaign and managing the ad campaign. It's about having those conversations and managing that entire process so that it doesn't reflect poorly on you, who's doing an amazing job, because at the end of the day, the client wants conversion. So you need to make sure that entire process is managed properly.
I was having a chat with a client of mine this morning also, but I've got a bit of equity deal set up with them, and also my senior advertising manager, Jack. And most of the time, 80% of the time, we're just psychologists for clients and business advisors, because we know how to do the technical really well, but it's almost like the work we do is the only thing that goes well in their business. And you realize, because we're doing this area maybe like 9 out of 10, their salesmanship is like 2 out of 10, their fulfillment is 2 out of 10, then all the other business operations. So a lot of times now I just recognize that it's not I'm just a Google Ads person. That's why my business had to change, because I actually had to be dynamic to get clients results in sales, because if they weren't getting sales, they wouldn't stay, because they wouldn't have enough money to pay the bills.
Of course. Yeah. So do you find that do you work well with sort of work in conjunction with the sales team or with the business owner? Yeah.
It's usually the business owner, because they're the ones who actually have the most leverage. Like if I'm speaking to someone who's an employee of the business, it's very hard to get things done because they know we're good or I'm good at what I do. But if I speak to a business owner, they know that what I'm talking about, and they'll execute on they'll demand people do what I recommend, rather than just go, oh, we'll see, we'll check out, we'll ask our management team, because that's the challenge. It's advertising's unforgiving. You'll spend a lot of money, and if you get it done poorly, or if the execution on the back end is done poorly, you don't get that money back. You don't get those opportunities back either.
Great point. I think we've kind of covered this, but a question about how can people stop wasting money on Google Ads, and what are the key strategies that businesses need to know to optimize their spend? Yeah,
definitely. So it's rather than going forward to the end, I usually like to work from the end backwards. So really starting off with knowing how much does the product cost or the service, knowing what the margins are, knowing what the actual approximate lead to sale rate is. So actually knowing like 10% of our leads turn to sales or 50%, because then we can start to reverse engineer the economics of the account. Because if on Google you pay for a cost per click, so every time someone clicks you pay, if the cost per click is $10, for example, or $20 or $50 or $2, and you need to get leads for $25 based on the random economics of the business, it's never going to be financially viable. So you've got to reverse engineer, really understanding how much is it going to cost for us to get a lead, and does that match up with our back end numbers? Most people don't know those. And if you don't have those numbers to start off with, nothing's ever going to work. You can get hundreds of leads, but if they're too expensive, you're never going to succeed.
Yeah.
I don't run advertising for my company for 2 reasons. One, it's way too expensive because I'm competing against everyone else. The click cost could be $50 to $100. And then secondly, I just don't do it because I find that really bad clients for digital marketing come from ads. Better ones come from just organic or through word of mouth or referrals. So, but starting off with knowing your economics, the next thing is the biggest mistakes people make is they just think I can set up an advertising account and it'll fix my whole business. Oh, if I get the right advertising person, it'll just magic pill it.
Yeah.
But then it needs to go to a page that converts because the traffic or the ads being at Meta or Google Ads, but we're talking about Google Ads now, it's just traffic. Someone click on it, that's it. It's just people with intent. But they need to go to a page where they can take action. Most people have a 9 out of 10 ad account going to a 2 out of 10 page. So they just treat the page just like, oh, this is perfect. People just think their web page is perfect because it's worked in the past. So that's probably the next biggest thing. And the last one is people aren't actually tracking their leads, being it in the ad account. Like if someone clicks on an ad, they're not tracking, did it turn into a lead or not? So they can't actually optimize towards when someone turned into a lead or not. So then they're like driving blind because they can't go, these keywords or these ads turned into leads. They're just like, we got 10 leads. Where do they come from? I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's
right.
not actually having any real data point to show like these very specific things equated to results.
So it was 3 things.
I've already forgotten. I talk about this so much, so it's like I'm just brain dumping right now.
It was the landing page was one of them.
Definitely.
Was having the first one was understanding your economics.
Definitely, yes.
I'm learning a lot here too.
No, good.
Every day is a school day.
Yeah.
Understanding your economics and then having the right landing page and then actually tracking your leads properly.
Yes. Yeah, or just conversion tracking in the platform. But that's it. Understanding your numbers, sending traffic to a page that will convert. Convert means people actually take action, ring you up, fill in a form. And then thirdly is actually tracking. Now, in terms of the actual ad account as well, there's hundreds of things you can do in Google Ads, but I'm not going to brain dump them here because that's like a decade of knowledge just like in the unconscious right now. But
so you have a few in the past. I mean, that's kind of how we were chatting initially, was that I came to you with a client that was potentially interested in looking at Google Ads.
Yes.
And you had a look at that. And just from, basic conversations that we had, you kind of said it's not really worthwhile until you guys do this, and this, which I thought was really great because I know a lot of marketers, and I do think there's some companies out there, and marketers do sometimes get a bad name of taking your money and then going, oh, well, it didn't work out. But I know that you don't have those values, and neither do we. We would never work with anyone unless we knew that it was going to be a good outcome, because we don't want to just take your money and then say, oops. It didn't work because you didn't do this. Well, we're going to tell you that in the beginning so that everything is set up for success, because that benefits both of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was saying this to my brother before. I went over and saw him. I said to him, because he's finishing uni, I just said, you've got to find a job where you help people make a lot of money, because when you help people make a lot of money, you'll make a lot of money as well. Now, when we were talking about this client, their average product value was $45 to $70.
I think it's more about sort of 60 to 100. Oh, yeah, 70 to 120. Yeah.
And you've done amazing work on their website, their branding, but the economics of the product versus the Google pricing was that if they were converting at 1 or 2%, they would have to get a click cost at a certain amount, and realistically we weren't going to get it. And I don't want to start any relationship going, yes, sweet, I can do it, when I know the economics are stacked against me.
Totally. And one of the biggest things that you pointed out was their wholesaler was selling their product for cheaper.
Actually, yes. And if you got the biggest wholesale in Australia, a big name selling it cheaper,
probably just,
and it's just down the road for everyone. This wholesale is just down the road.
Yeah,
you're not going to compete, because price is very important for people now.
And people do want things now, so they might just look it up, great, and jump in the car and go and get it. And that's
that's exactly. I forgot about that. That's actually a really important point, because that's the psychology of marketing as well, is when people know they can get it down the road cheaper, or like you go to the main site and it's more expensive, people go to the lowest price.
Absolutely.
The only place people don't is Amazon. They'll pay a little bit more for that convenience of being delivered the next day.
That's a really good point.
But for most of the time, it's the economy, most of the time you're selling to people who are just everyday people. And this was a B2C product, very much consumer product. And you can't expect people to want to pay a premium just because, or whatever. Plus you had to pay shipping.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah, totally. Can you speak to there being an exact formula to creating high converting ads, like for example, different ad copy, things like that?
So I think once again, like I've done my whole career in advertising, being in Google ads, and in the last 5 years in Meta ads or Facebook ads. And I'm seeing more of the success. Well, it's 50-50. 50% is the advertising. 50% is the offer/landing page. Most of the time, success will come from the landing page, because if you have the right page with the right message to the right audience, things will just work. I think the challenge is so many people are just either advertisers, like I just need the best Google ads person or Meta person, or I just need the best web person. And it's like, you can't succeed like that anymore. Like it really, I could be wrong, but I've worked on hundreds of businesses, nearly spent $100 million in ads. Like I do this day in and day out. I'm on the front line. I'm a CEO of a company, yet I'm still running ads. I'm yet to see where anyone can just be very compartmentalized or like very siloed and actually have success. So to answer the question, like the things that help convert is actually just the holistic package, like having a page that's really aligned with the ads, ads with a very clear message, benefit driven, outcome driven, talking about how you're going to transform them. A lot of people go, we do this, we do that, we've won the awards. And that's to try and indirectly say, we're good and we can help you, rather than just going, we help clients make a 10x return on this. So with me, because we track a lot of our clients' data, we know with our lead generation, on average, most clients get a 23-to-1 return. So every dollar they spend on advertising, they get $23 back.
Very impressive.
I know. But the thing is, I'm very data driven. I'm very strategic about it. And, we take on a very specific type of client that we know they're high ticket clients. So by doing the same effort as a low ticket client, you get outsized returns as well. So there are a lot of factors towards the success of ads. It's not just ad copy or keywords. It's the psychology of going after the right personal audience or keywords, really clear ads that are benefit driven towards the consumer or the person who wants it. It goes to a page that makes it really easy for them to take action. And then ultimately someone on the end picking up a phone in a short period of time, calling them up going, g'day, you're ready to buy and getting the party started.
Yeah. And what about for yourself in terms of bringing in leads? You don't do any Google ads for yourself, as we already discussed, because it's crazy competitive and it's kind of not really bringing in the right clientele anyway. For us, we do a lot of content marketing. That's what works really well for us is the content marketing side of things. And then also a majority of our business comes from referrals as well.
So this is interesting because I work in advertising. People would assume or presume that I should be running advertising myself, but the economics do not stack up. Unfortunately, as well, most of the people who are searching on Google for services are probably the last people I want to be working with, because I know for any B2B service that I work with, because it is a B2B service, I'm working with a business owner to business owner or business to business, is every B2B service I do, it's through word of mouth, trust, referral. And the reason why is because it's been pre-qualified. Everyone will say they're the best to get clients, but it's, how do you know? It's usually through word of mouth. So with me, most of my clients have come through word of mouth. And that's why I will lose a deal to keep the relationship. Like with us, I was like, I knew there would be a better relationship to form. Like I'm here doing a podcast now. Based on it, we've only met twice or once, and then we've had a few chats. And, I know that bigger things come from everyone when you're actually there to support the relationship over just trying to get your pocket full of money. And
for sure. And having the attitude of you never know where it's going to lead as well. Sometimes, and I try to keep a very open mind, because sometimes you might get something and think, oh, I'm really busy. I know it's probably not going to work out. I don't really want to take the call, but maybe taking that call actually does lead to something else. And it's good to keep an open mind and not just get stuck in your day to day and just think, oh, I don't have time, just to flat out no. Just taking the time and having a conversation with that person can actually lead to so much.
I could not agree more. And I could rant about this. I was at a conference last week I was presenting about, and this was literally what I was talking about, how to build a 7-figure business through, they called it networking. I hate that term. I like relationships. And I genuinely believe everyone is 4 to 7 good relationships away from building a very successful 7-figure business where you're just getting so many leads coming inbound that you just don't even know how to deal with it. I'm having that at the moment. I did this exercise a few weeks ago on Fig Jam. Do you know Figma? It's just like, they've got this like mind map board where I was literally just drawing out all my clients and did a map back of like, where did they come from? Where did they come from? Where did they come from? And I just saw this like there's no logical path towards getting these clients. And there's no way I would have got these clients online. Or some of them started online, and then I got this like smaller client that like linked me to their mate's business. And they linked me to this outstanding business, and then they're just flooding. That
is a really good idea to do, to actually see where everyone has come from.
You should do it. I genuinely think your mind would be blown, because there will be 2 things you'll learn. One, it's really random. Or 2, there might be one person or company that's like a node that's just like referred all these people off, and then they've referred. And then by just going, maybe I reach out to them. Maybe I connect with them again. They've been such a great valuable source for me, and just give some value to them. Either go out for lunch, just thank them. But I've noticed that by just doing that, it actually brings me more fulfillment in business, because then I realize it feels like I'm just working with friends rather than working with clients.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's what makes business so much easier, when you actually like the people you work with.
Absolutely. I think relationships are everything. And it's funny you say you don't like the word networking. Neither do I. Networking feels like you're going to an event and you're just handing out your business cards to everyone. And sometimes, I do see different events pop up, and kind of based on the language that they use at these events, it'll kind of put me off sometimes, because I think any experience, it doesn't have to be like a networking event, but anytime you're going out and you're meeting people, you don't even have to be talking about your business. You're just literally interacting with people. That is building your network. And I think people have this idea that networking is going to networking events, going around and saying, hi, my name's Karleigh. I'm from Lucky Boy Agency and we specialize in this. But really, people actually just want to know me. And then maybe in like 5 years' time, or maybe they have someone that needs help. They know me and they know that I also own this business. So I think there's such a misconception that it's such a hard sell and you have to go out and you have to hustle. It's like, no, I actually just love talking to people, and there's so many different scenarios where you're out and you're meeting people and you never know what it's going to lead to.
Yeah. I thought when I was presenting at this conference, I said there's two secret formulas, two parts to that formula. It's, you've got to be kind to everyone, because once I did this map, I realized anyone can refer you people. So number one is just be kind, because people like people who are nice. Secondly, you got to let people know what you do, but you don't have to be ranting, raving. I'll just be like, it's nice to people. And they ask you, what do you do? I'm like, I just run an advertising company, lead generation. We help clients get this money. And then that's it. Plant the seed, be nice to people. So then they're like, oh, my mate needs help advertising. They'll think of me. They're like, he was a nice guy and I know he does it.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to Google and Google. It's like, I met this person, seemed really nice. I'll reach out and get their details for you. And
people love referring your business. My friends love it so much.
Yeah.
I've actually had a couple of friends refer me some really amazing clients, and they, obviously thank them a lot, but I know that it feels good for them too, because they're supporting us, which is so nice.
I have a mate who was a client. It's a very weird series of events, but he was referred to me. He was a client, but in-house, and then he's become a mate. He left that company and I've been referring him SEO work. And then like the other week, he's like, dude, like those 3 referrals, it's like 13 grand recurring revenue for me now. I'm like, I've changed this guy's life. But the reason I like that, I was saying to my girlfriend, the reason I really like that is because people have done that for me. So I felt like I was passing on that gift of like,
totally,
I've received and I keep receiving, but I want to make sure that I'm passing that, like that generosity through, because he's going to me, he's working with some big clients now. He's like, dude, I'm begging to find a client who needs Google Ads so I can give it, like handball it back to you, because it's like, it's reciprocity. People, like if you give to people enough in the right way to the right people, they will give back in the ways that you want to receive. And it's, with this relationship stuff, I've really we're in this time and age where we're so used to seeing ads on the internet going, this is how you grow your business. But throughout history, every business has been built off doing good work for good people. And you're a good person, people like you, and you've got good relationships. So why are we trying to bypass this thing? Everyone's like, I'll just run ads, rather than just being like, how do I just build good relationships with relevant people? How do I just become a better person, kinder person? And how do I just deliver more results? Because if you just do those 3 things over time, you will make a lot of money. You can't not. You just can't not.
Totally. I think we talk a lot about that. We love working with good people and doing good work for them. Like our entire tagline is, we help businesses that do good look good. And that's because we love working with those businesses. And by only working with those businesses, we attract more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how we come into work every day and we feel fulfilled. We don't feel like we're working for clients that we hate. We feel like all of my clients I have such beautiful relationships with, and it's more than just, just a strictly business conversation. For, I would say 90% of them, we have a friendship as well, which is so nice. And that's what makes coming to work every day really fulfilling. It just doesn't feel like you're hustling and people just want so much from you. It just feels like a nice relationship and you're doing great things for their business, and that feels good.
People get lonely at the top, and most people do go into business for relationships. We always think it's for money, but people do it, will sign up with you because they want a new friend. When they're running their business, they've got all these employees and people asking and taking from them. Sometimes it's good to have someone where they can pitch and catch ideas. And the best things about these relationships is you get opportunities that you wouldn't get if you're working for someone. I've been given equity deals in companies.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that.
Do you want to talk about it now, or we can talk about it? I know you've got other questions.
I'd love to ask you about private equity and business growth, because I know that you do sort of, you have a couple of arrangements like that. Yeah.
So these is the thing. I'm going to share this. It's just my personal experience. I'm not saying that everyone can do this, because I don't think everyone can. It's one of those things where the whole saying the rich get richer, where it's not just about money, but the opportunities. Like when you're around certain types of people, you get opportunities that other people don't. So being a CEO like us and, running companies and working directly with business owners, when they see that you deliver results, you're trustworthy, you're loyal, you deliver, when they're thinking about doing different business ventures, they're like, well, I want to partner with people. They don't want to just carry the whole load. Like they're not selfish, because they're like, I've already made enough money here. I prefer to be partnering with people because it's still work at the end of the day. It's not like you're just sitting at the top making millions and then it's easy. It's all of this is still work. The equity deals I got opportunities in came because I knew people, either through they were clients or previous clients, or, they were new businesses from clients, and they'd seen the work we'd done, and they knew that if I was partnering with them in these businesses, especially doing lead generation, that I'd be more invested. So what motivates people is usually a reward. So they know that if I'm part of these companies, that if I do better work, the whole company rises. The challenge with a lot of investments people do, like buying shares, is you put money in and you just hope that someone else, no input. I've got this skill. I've made people hundreds of millions of dollars. So why can't I try to help do it by myself? Like the agency's a different model to do that, because it's hard to scale an agency when there's so much competition. But when you've just got these other businesses that are still blue oceans, like there's not much competition. I've got this skill set where I can literally come in, pull this lever, and they get flooded with leads, flooded with sales.
That's a nice visual, isn't it?
Yeah, because in the agency world, I'm competing against like people who are spending millions on ads a year. They've got huge teams and all that stuff. I know I'm good, but talent isn't enough in my industry. You've got to be really business savvy. Versus a lot of my clients, their business, all these businesses, I get to pull a lever and then just money floods through the door. So it's about trying to find leverage of me and my skills to help them and do it all together. But I recognize that my business, a lot of people want to grow their business as like their way they make money. Like I'm using my agency, one, to build amazing relationships, because I realize all the best opportunities in life and the journey forward comes from people. So if those people are CEOs of businesses who are making a lot of money, those opportunities are going to be better. They're going to mentor me indirectly. They're going to give me knowledge, give me opportunities. I also decided early on that I wasn't going to use my business to be as my lifestyle business. I was going to use it to fund private equity investments.
And set yourself up.
Exactly. So the goal of my company is I'm trying to keep it as lean, get clients results, they stay, they refer, we really profitable. So then I can put that money into private equity investments. So then when those investments are going well, they pay for the lifestyle. So even though the company is a 7-figure company now, there's only 2 of us there, that money's being funded into investments. So the money works for me, so I don't have to keep working in the agency. So
yeah, because it's the same with us. A lot of our income is reliant on us doing the work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with your type of work, with my type of work, it can be high revenue, but if you manage it poorly, it can be low profit. But if you do things right and you do maximize that profit, you can make more in a couple of months than you used to make in a job. And then it's like, well, what do you do with that money? Do you just blow it on your lifestyle? Which some people want to do, and that's fine. I'm not judging people, but I realized my journey was to kind of create wealth and wealth for my family or generational wealth. So I've got a vehicle right now that if I execute it properly, I can make great money. I can really serve a lot of really great businesses, and I can use it to fund the future for myself and my family in a way that I can serve more people. Because if I just, I've got a lot of mates who have got companies 3 times the size of mine. They're making fuck all profit.
Isn't that interesting that bigger is not always better?
No way.
Yeah.
It's all about it's not even profit margins. It's just like how much profit's left over at the end of the day, and really thinking about those numbers, because most people are just like, how do I scale? How do I grow? And it's like, how much money do I actually keep? That's what I always think. How much money do I keep? Because that's what I get to invest.
It's very interesting because I think a lot of people judge the success of a business by how many staff there are. And
no way.
Yeah, people do. And people, like, if we were to, be having a conversation, say with a family member, and we told them we've got 30 staff, they would be like, whoa, that's amazing. But maybe we're actually literally breaking even. That doesn't matter. But to them, that's success. And to a lot of people, having a 30-person team is success. When to us, and I like the word that you use, lean, because I might steal that, having a lean team, but actually having a better lifestyle and making more profit, to me, that is more attractive than to having a ginormous team. And maybe that's in the future, but for now, I don't really see as scaling really, really fast what I want to do, because I don't want to be, I hear so many people having these conversations, and I think it gets back to that conservative part of me.
Yes.
Where I've heard so many people say, we were at a point where if we didn't land a job, then wages weren't going to be paid. And I think,
what a nightmare.
No, thanks. That's not for me. And I also saw someone post on LinkedIn the other day saying, if you haven't woken up at 3 a.m. wondering how you're going to make payroll, you haven't run a business. And he was an older gentleman. And I thought, God, that is so opposite of, that is the complete opposite of where I ever want to be in my career and owning my business. Having a massive team and being awake at 3 a.m. wondering how I'm going to pay the payroll. Like, no, thank you.
If that's where your energy is going towards, you're not running the business properly. Like, I'm not here to judge. I've only been running a business 3 years, but I've been so blessed yet cursed. I've been blessed that I've worked with so many businesses that when you're on the front line of advertising, you're almost on the front line of sales, even though you're not selling. Selling is the most, probably 80% of success in a business is their sales or their revenue, and then the 20% is the execution of the work. And I've just worked with so many businesses that I've got like this unconscious learning of what failure, like behaviors of failure and unconscious learnings of success. So that's why when I'm like, I don't want to scale a company, so I don't know if that's a limiting belief or it's like a good belief, but I've just seen so many businesses fail when they try to do that. And what you said about that payroll, I say to Jack, I'm like to him all the time, I'm making sure that there's years worth of your salary here available. I've never, it's crazy. I go to bed sleeping fine every night. You lose clients from time to time, things. I'm like, I've got it. It's all good.
Yeah.
And you don't need to keep growing and scaling a company. Like I said, people think that their company is the only vehicle for that, that wealthy lifestyle. It's not. Like, if you keep trying to grow your company, the margins do lean out. And I was speaking to someone yesterday where they got to their agency to about 30 people and they realized they're only making a 10% margin. And this guy's running a great agency, but like, my margin's like 80%. And it's, he was obviously doing more revenue than me, but wasn't making more profit. So then to what point do you keep doing this? And most people go, well, then I want to exit. I'm like, exiting's not just like, oh, I'm ready to sell and you get this multiple. It's hard. It's difficult. You go through due diligence for like 6 to 12 months. It's not just like.
And then you have to stay at the company for
it's
like
the
3
myth
years.
of scaling. Like, we're here to make money so we can actually do something with our lives, not to work for a company where we've got 30 employees, can't make payroll, stressed out about it. You're miserable. It affects your relationships. It affects your health. Like, that's not what I got into business for. I got into business to create wealth and freedom and happiness and relationships. So you got to discover your own values.
I think it's the ego that gets in the way, right?
And that's what a lot of them who get to that point, they come back and go, I just had this idea that that's what success was. It could have been ego, but it could have just been ignorance of just thinking that that's the default to create wealth.
I want to ask you about some personal insights and advice about what was one piece of advice that you wish that you had received when you started your career.
Career?
Yeah.
Well, it's maybe something I wish I invested more into. It's something that I've always naturally done, but it just, whatever it takes to become better with people, relationships, just be kinder and nicer to people because that's where all success starts, but more importantly ends. So the advice, and I'd give this to anyone, literally saying, just figure out how to get really good at relating to people and giving value, because if you've got a good skill set, those are the people that are going to help you on your journey. No man's an island, no woman's an island. But you've got to recognize that the best things in life, the best opportunities will come from people, not just like some random thing on the internet that you do. So the advice was, if it would just be, keep reflecting on how can you just be better with people and give more value, create better relationships, because it's the one thing that will pay outsized dividends: wealth, happiness, fulfillment, joy, relationships. It's just, you can't get a bigger ROI than just from relationships.
And you do a lot of providing value through.
I hope so.
Yeah, you definitely do. I mentioned earlier your LinkedIn, but also your YouTube. You're creating a lot of content that provides real value. So it provides value, which does all of the great stuff connecting with people, but it also really positions you as the expert in the space too, because you're sitting here going, I know I've got my finger on the pulse essentially, which is the best place. It's the best way to be perceived.
Yeah. Well, it stops any sort of imposter syndrome, because people post comments and they're like, oh, that doesn't work. I'm like, cool, man. Like, it's working for like 30 of our clients. So I always I've got a bit of a life philosophy now from just years. I reflect a lot. Every day I reflect on the lessons, the failures, just everything, because there are guiding principles in life. And it's this idea called like the elusive obvious, that things that when you're at a certain level seem obvious were not obvious when you're down here. So I'm trying to figure out, what are the things that will be obvious when I actually get to a next stage that are still applicable now. I have this guiding force or principle now that I'm trying to make sure that anytime I do something, it hits 3 criteria. Number 1, is it simple? Most of the time people complicate stuff, which just means if it's complicated, people don't action it. So then you need to make sure, especially in communication, is how can I simplify this so I actually get the message across so then people get it? Or even myself, more importantly myself, how do I simplify this body of knowledge so I actually understand it?
Simple is so, so, so key, especially when you are trying to get people to do things.
Yeah.
Because the minute that so we work with a lot of clients when we're managing their social media and we want to get content from their wider team.
Yeah.
And we've had the most success with almost using language that someone in year 5 could understand.
Perfect. That's exactly it.
And making it so, so, so simple, because I think especially when I first got into this industry, I wanted everything that I put out to sound like it was written by a genius, right? I wanted to use all of my big words and for everything to be of the utmost, very, very professional, everything that I put out. But oftentimes if you're working with team members or your client's team and you're putting things out there, especially if you're asking them to do something and it's complex, they will look at it and go, too hard. Nope.
Yeah.
But if you make it so simple for people to understand, then you're going to get a better result. So simple in like your language and your presentation and everything. And I think, I think also agencies can get a bad name for overcomplicating things, making things seem more complex than they actually are, when people can understand the theory behind it. So just explain it to them. Yeah.
People need to understand what's important or why it's important. So, and that's the thing, simplicity, like complexity is the enemy of execution, which is for like this kind of mental model I go through is, number 1, is it simple? Number 2 is it practical? You can talk about the most simple things, but if it's not practical, then what are we talking about? We need to start getting the ball moving. So try to make things simple, make sure it's practical, because if it's not practical, what are we doing? Like we're just talking, blowing hot air. The third one is, you make things simple, practical, but does it actually deliver results? And that's where I realize now with a lot of things I see online and just things in general, that's where it falls over. It doesn't produce results. So most of the things in life, you're trying to produce an outcome. You want something, you want to achieve something, that's an outcome. But if you've got for every thing you want to achieve, there's like 30 things you can do. If you want to lose weight, there's all these different like workouts and stuff. But which ones are simple enough that you can follow, which are practical, and then which ones actually deliver results? The reason why I did advertising, I focused and niched down on Google Ads, Facebook or Meta Ads and landing pages, is because it was simple, it was practical, and it got results for clients. I see so many ways people can do advertising strategy, lead generation. Like, if you do this complicated funnel, I'm like, it sounds good. It's a bit complicated. It is practical, but I never saw results from it. So if it's work or life, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't get caught up in too many mental loops or traps being like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be doing these million things. When people recommend stuff for me, I'm like, cool, explain it to me. Tell me how to, so simple. Number 2 is like, tell me how I can apply it, practical. And then I'm like, well, tell me some of these results. And it's usually the results. They're like, yeah, but this person says it works. What are their results? No, I don't know, but they trust me. I'm like, I'm not going to waste my life force and my time on doing something that some random person I've never met has done this thing. So I think it's just that's the other advice I wish I got earlier on, because it would have saved me not only so much time, but just so much like self-doubt and like gaslighting myself, because I intuitively am like, this kind of sounds bullshit. But then I would still do it. And then it didn't work because it didn't hit simplicity, practicality, and delivers results.
Well said. Very well said.
I hope I didn't rant too much there, but it's a really powerful guiding force for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you reflect every day, because so do I. I reflect so much. I reflect on every single interaction that I have.
But that's good. But that's obviously why like you're going well in your company. You get these great relationships, great results. Like you've got a great relationship is because you can't just think you can luck through life. Like life is this dance of like action, then reflection. Too many people either sit around reflecting and don't get anything done. Too many people just like run at the wall and don't realize they can recalibrate. So it's a really powerful trait that you have.
And just figuring out if something didn't work out, what you can learn from the situation.
That's it. And you've got to recognize that a lot of what happens in your life are based on 3 things that I've been really reflecting on is, number 1, just your ongoing habits and behaviors. 99% of the stuff we do every day is just habitual loops. So then if you've got all this chaos in your life, you're not looking after yourself, you're just going to have quite negative habitual loops. And I really think, unfortunately, in life, you're not rewarded for the good stuff you do. You're just punished for the bad stuff you do. You can be a wonderful person. You do one bad thing one day, you go to jail for it. You lose your business over it. And, I really think you can tell the character of a real person not based on how they treat you when things are well. It's like how they treat you when you have any moments of adversity. I've lost friendships over it, and I'm glad, because I don't want to be close with people that when I need their back, like them to have my back, or, we're dealing with something, they flick and like they're just not there. They're super reactive. So that's the first thing, is just your own habits. Second thing that really affects people more than they realize is who you surround yourself with, you become.
Totally.
Like, you see it on the downside when like kids or people hang around like bad people and they're like, oh yeah, it's obvious. But it's also the upside. If you hang around really smart, healthy, driven people, you get pulled up with them. Like if you're just like ensuring that you're not pulling them down, you get pulled up. Then the third one is just environments. Like those friends that you catch up with, I'm sure you love them and they could be the right people, but the environment's the wrong place. But if you're at the park with them, or you went hiking with them, or you're on a holiday in Bali at some sweet villa, same people, different environment, very different experience. And those environments, people, and then also your habitual patterns, those 3 things together, which are usually outside your control, will influence your life way more than anything else. People just think, oh, if I'm just so strong-willed in my life, I'll get ahead. You won't. You've got to kind of let go of this idea that you can control everything and just let go to the idea of, if the only thing I choose are the environments I'm in, the people I surround myself with, and try to recondition some of those unconscious patterns, your life will profoundly shift really fast, really fast.
I wanted to ask you before we wrap up about what your self-talk is like, because I have always been like this, but I love having conversations with people about what their self-talk is like. And my self-talk is, I'm so kind to myself, so kind. The way I talk to myself is like I would talk to my best friend who I absolutely love. And I always have been like that. If I make a mistake, I will literally in my own head say, that's all right, babe. Like, try again. Like, that's how I talk to myself. So kind. And I think that has such a positive impact, because when I make a mistake, I don't hold myself harshly. I know that I can do better, and I'm not performing to where I need to be, but I do not hold myself harshly, because I think I'm just doing my best. I can do better, but hey, that was a mistake. We're going to move forward. Never, ever, ever have had negative self-talk. And I think that in my business, that helps me so much.
Yeah. Wow.
And what about you? What's your self-talk like?
Are you enlightened? Like, that is wonderful. Yeah. So this is a really beautiful question. And I'm more curious when I watch other episodes of this, what other people will say, because most people don't have nice self-talk, unfortunately. And that's just the reality of the world, because they're just conditioned with messages from family, friends, co-workers that you're not good enough. Also, advertising's always like, this is what a good life is, and your shitty life is down here. So therefore that disconnect. through my whole life, probably until a few years ago, I always felt like I was an outsider. I just knew I was different. But then over the last few years is like I've just actually honored myself more and followed my own path and kind of just gone, fuck everyone else's things. Like not being like rude, but just like following my own truth. I realized I wasn't an outsider. I was like an outlier. I realized that like what I'm doing and who I am is like, it's the 1%. And not because I'm an elitist. It's just like purely behaviorally, it's very different. But my self-talk, I realized I had a good self-love. And I said it to my girlfriend, I'm like, do you think I've got self-love? She's like, you've got more self-love than anyone I know. And I'm like, that's a really beautiful observation because I don't know if I always had it. I definitely didn't years ago. I was like anxious and depressed and all that kind of stuff, you know, being around average people in an average job, just tox type of stuff. But then, you know, when sometimes I'm doing stuff, I'm like, good on you, mate.
Yeah.
I just say to myself, good on you, mate.
Yes.
Or I realized it when I started doing YouTube videos. People were like being like, oh, like even close friends are like, yeah, the quality shit, the audio shit. And then when I'm like watching these videos, I had a huge smile on my face. I'm like, I felt like I was watching like a child. I'm like, this is outstanding.
Yeah.
But the reason why, it wasn't because I thought I was so great. I realized I was doing stuff in every area of my life that other people say they want to do. They complain about, like they judge other people for doing it poorly. And I was just happy that I showed up for myself to do that thing. So I have that self-love because I know I show up for myself and other people, where people like, I prefer focusing on like putting my like feet where my mouth is, like walk forward rather than be like telling people you should do this, you should do that. My life is just like what I do is my message, not what I say. So even though I'm speaking now, like this is a very light version of myself. Like I'm always looking out for my friends, want to adventure. I think kindness and love is so important. Relationship, like we've said the word relationship so much that if you did a ChatGPT summary of the terms and it's like, what are the top values they talked about? It'd be relationships. Like, but you can only value relationships if you value the relationships with yourself because you realize how important it is. Because when I started to move from just being so head driven and being in my mind and being judging to like being like heart driven and like intuitive, like gut driven, I went from like 6 figures to like 7 figures because I realized that when you have that self-love, good self-talk, it magnifies, it radiates to other people. And then they're like, this person has something that I want that money cannot buy. So I'll give them money just to be around them in their presence as well.
Yeah.
So that's the long-winded answer. But it's so beautiful to hear that you've never had that because that's such a gift because, you know, that really does drive forward because
I think compliments to my mother for that. And my brother is the
mum.
same. Good on your mum.
Good on you, mum.
My brother is the same. And I believe that is from my childhood and from having a mum who just instilled so deeply that I could do anything.
Yeah.
That anything I wanted in this life, I could have. Anyone I wanted to be, I could be.
Yeah.
So I think from a very young age, I had that. And, you know, I always thought that, yeah, I could do anything, be anyone, so that I have put myself out there and tried to do things instead of thinking, you know, if you're told your whole life you're not good enough, then you think you're not good enough. Yeah. But if you're told your whole life that you can do anything and be anyone, then you're going to want to do those things. So
that's so beautiful. And mixed in with that element of yourself, or the characteristics that you reflect a lot, it's like that's unstoppable because that self-love will take you taking action without all those mental fears. But then when you actually hit that roadblock of like the external world, then you're like, well, I self-reflect and then recalibrate. And you don't self-judge when those things happen either.
Yeah, totally. And I think having a lot of grace for myself allows me to have a lot of grace for other people too. So when people make a mistake or when people do something that is not showing their best character, I can see past that and think past that and think, well, maybe they might be going through something. And I just have a lot of grace for people and not going, oh, they're horrible or they don't know what they're doing. I just can look past that to think that there's something probably underlying.
Yeah.
And just understanding, that people aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. And to just not judge people. Yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No,
we covered a lot.
No, I know this is I really appreciate you having me. It was really enjoyable.
So great to have you on. I feel like we spoke a lot about life and business and so much good stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I really appreciate you having me here in this beautiful studio, just taking your time because I love sharing this stuff because I've been able to help so many people, and not because I'm so great. It's just there's things I've been able to identify that I can share across. So if there's anyone who's watched this, and something hits, just absorb it and action in the world. Like this, like I said, simple, practical, and get results. Like this stuff has worked for me. I don't say stuff that I'm like, I read this in a book once. It's like, I've learned it, I've applied it, and I just want to like share it. So I really appreciate you having me here today. It's been fun.
Thank you.